So hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer Quick Match gameplay. This time around I'm playing as the Empire against the Greenskins led by Alessio Gelli on the map Excavation Site. And as you can see, the compositions are a little freaky. Right off the bat, so going over things, I'm just going to throw things in slow motion. Right off the bat, I wanted to give a shot to Hellblasters, and one of the factions I figured I could be okay against are Orcs. I figured if they bring Black Orcs, I can focus on the Black Orcs. Hellblasters are a unit that's not particularly popular. They do have fairly high DPS per gun. They dish out 1500 DPS, but their DPS is only slightly about 25% higher than that of handguns. And they cost double the amount of handguns do. Their range isn't that much better. It's only about 50% better. So Hellblasters aren't that popular of a tool, but I wanted to give them a shot. I wanted to give them a fair shake here against a faction against which they were decent, and I just wanted to demonstrate to you guys whether or not they were kind of functional. So for my comp, 2 Hellblasters, because I figured 1 Hellblaster really wouldn't be enough. You do need a bit more firepower than that, plus, if one of them gets shut down, then that's going to be it for my ranged fire, so I figured I'd bring 2. So they're spaced out over here. For my lord, I had to bring Boris, stripped down to nothing except stand your ground, crush the weak, and Midland Runefang. He is escorted by 2 captains on foot, who do have hold the line, so they will be fighting that charge defense bonus. And then my front line is composed of a mix of unbreakable regiments of renown and swordsmen. You can see 4 units of swordsmen, spaced out pretty wide to cover any of my opponent's cavalry or flanking units trying to get in, and then 2 unbreakable units, the Sigmar Sons and the good old Tattersouls, just to provide a bit more frontline beefiness. In the back, I do have a single unit of greatswords in the middle here. It's ready to flex forward to deal with any Black Orcs that push a little too far, and then behind that, or any infantry breakthroughs. Then behind that, Royal Gryphites, who are of course armor-piercing, terror-causing, anti-large. Very strong unit in general, especially against Greenskins. And finally, Spearmen in the back, and these guys are veteraned up a whole bunch. These guys aren't particularly great, but they were just something to use my extra points on and act as a speed bump for enemy large. And my opponent brought a build that absolutely terrified me. So as you can see, right off the bat, my opponent has brought 3 Arachnarok spiders and the Arachnarok Queen, which is absolutely terrifying. He went very cheap on the Lord. He brought a Night Goblin War Boss on a Squig, who did come in with Potion of Foolhardiness and Potion of Toughness, as well as the Wa. He does have Orc Big Guns here in the middle, and he does have 2 Goblins with Spears in the front to just soak up hits, and 3 Arachnaroks and the Arachnarok Queen. It's definitely a bit terrifying. I'm definitely worried that seeing this build, I was almost certain I was going to lose, because I didn't have much armor piercing in this army. My only armor piercing really was the Greatswords, who aren't great against large, Boris, who is susceptible to kind of getting ganked by that, same with the Royal Gryphites, who can just get swamped by spiders, and then the Hellblasters, who I figured the spiders could just barge through. My opponent does over here on the far flank in the corner have hidden kind of a commando force here, Night Goblin Shaman with sneaky stealing, which isn't going to affect me because I didn't bring any magic, sneaky stabbing, as well as itchy nuisance, and then Night Goblins. This is one of the regiments of renown. It doesn't say which one it is. The AP Cloonies, or I do believe this is the AP Cloonies, and then Nasty Skulkers over there. And these guys are going to try to sneak up on me and kind of hit me from behind. So anywho, throwing things into full gear, I'm pushing my infantry line forward, and this is because I want my Hellblasters to get value. If my Hellblasters cannot focus these down, the Hellblasters are kind of the heart of my defense here. If the Hellblasters don't put these spiders down, I'm doomed. So you can see the Hellblasters are kind of being wheeled into place, and shortly they are going to open fire. And we're going to throw things into slow-mo so we can see this glorious fire. I absolutely love Hellblasters. I love the theme. I love the appearance of it. It looks like a Gatling gun. And shortly we're going to see him firing. You can see those shots just going off, and all the barrels rotating, and you can see just the volleys going off. It's crazy. Absolutely adore Hellblasters. You can see we're focusing on the first unit I wanted to focus on was the Arachnarok Queen. She does have those spiderling broods, and I want to make sure that they can't really interrupt me and be a problem in the back line. The Hellblasters, while they aren't really meant to shut down things like Arachnarok Queens, they're doing an okay enough job of it to hopefully shut her down. I do push into my opponent here. I throw my Empire Captain, and my opponent got a quick charge into him. You can see those poor swordsmen do not stand a chance. but they need to tie down. They just need to bog my opponent down here. The Hellblasters, the Great Swords are going, the Spearmen are going in. These poor swordsmen have already been terrified in its submission. Over here, more swordsmen being committed to tie down the Ragnarok Queen. The Altdorf Griffites pushing in from the side, swordsmen pushing in, and I'm just doing my very best to stop my opponent and tie him down. The Great Swords are tying down this Ragnarok over here, and you can see the Ragnarok Queen is actually breaking the concentrated fire from the two Hellblasters, as well as the Demigryphs, who are in there now. Now Boris does dive in. Boris actually, because the spider doesn't have the best melee defense, he actually hits it fairly easily, and you can see with Crush the Weak going down, it's actually making the spider a lot weaker. In the meantime, though, these spiders are pushing into the Great Swords, so at this point I'm shifting fire with the Hellblasters. My opponent, though, does pop Itchy Nuisance, and at this point his Commando Force is almost on top of my Hellblaster, which I didn't even realize. I didn't know it was here. I hadn't done any scouting, of course. I'd see those spiders, and I was trying to shut them down. And you can see the Hellblaster, though, firing it until the very bitter end here. At this point, I'm going to see these units coming in from behind, but the Hellblasters are just going to keep firing until they're overrun. Just trying to stall my opponent as long as I can. I was definitely convinced that I was going to lose this, despite the fact that Tattershold's finally mocked up the goblins over here, and they're going to be moving off the big guns. You can see the spider does just kind of break off, and it goes after this poor Hellblaster, just destroying it. Boris over here, though, trying to beat it down. Hellblaster still firing, Great Sword still pushing in. And the Royal Altdorf Demis, unfortunately, have taken a huge beating, and they're definitely suffering and struggling here. My opponent's trying to focus them down with the big guns and trying to kind of snipe them down, and it's definitely being a major problem for me. Fortunately, another Ragnarok Spider has been routed off. You can see the Tattershold's here pursuing the goblins, which is definitely a mistake. I should simply pull them back in. This Empire Captain is returning. Unfortunately, I do believe I've already lost one of my other Empire Captains. At this point, the Royal Altdorf Griffites are being routed off. They're going to flee shortly. The Night Goblin War Boss is over here. You can see most of my army is shaken. A lot of them are terrified, routing off pretty far. Fortunately, the Hellblaster is still firing away at one of them, and it is hitting this Ragnarok over here and slowly but surely whittling it down. You can see over here the Nasty Skulkers. Nasty Skulkers have very low morale, so they break fairly easily, and I capitalized on that. I forced them away, get them off my back. In the meantime, though, the Royal Altdorf Demis have lost a massive amount of models, so that's definitely a big problem for me. Tattershold's are on their way back. In the meantime, though, Night Goblin War Boss has kind of pushed in. He's getting bogged down fighting against the Great Swords. I've popped Stand Your Ground, trying to focus out on Ragnarok over here. But my opponent, in the meantime, is focusing on poor Boris over here, and that's definitely a problem. And I'm just simply trying to force Bath Boris out of this fight, get him clear, and let the infantry keep things going. My Empire Captain is in there as well. He is doing his best to help out and fight to the bitter end. You see the Tattershold's are coming back. What I do now is I am pushing the Royal Altdorf Griffites to intercept the Ragnarok Queen, but my opponent is aware of that, and he actually drops a bunch of spider hatchlings. I was not paying attention. I simply ordered them to attack, and so they're actually going to get intercepted by the spider hatchlings and prevented from intercepting the queen. And that's definitely going to be a problem. The spider hatchlings do some damage, and the Demigryphs are losing models. They're very beaten up at this point, and I'm just trying to force path them into the Spider Queen here just to finish her off. In the meantime, my opponent's army is definitely kind of breaking through mine. At this point, I was definitely very much certain it was going to be over. The Empire Captain is barely holding on. Him and the Tattershold's are the last units here holding the line. I do believe the Great Swords are actually going to rout fairly shortly. You can see, though, some of my swordsmen are coming back, and I'm trying to stay on top of pulling all these units back into the fray. I have managed to shatter off an Ragnarok Spider, as well as just break the Ragnarok Queen, and she's actually going to retreat over to there. This Hellblaster is still just have a little bit of ammo, and I'm trying to fire away. Boris over here is tying down this spider. Yeah, these goblins are now overwhelming the Hellblaster, and things are definitely looking a bit grim, guys. Definitely looking very, very, very bad. But I'm not ready to give up yet. I'm definitely throwing in some swordsmen. Kind of hoping to stem the tide here. Unfortunately, these goblins have gotten on top of my Hellblaster, and they're shutting it down alongside this Goblin Shaman, which is definitely a huge problem. Fortunately, this Ragnarok really does break, which is a little lucky for me. Unfortunately, you can see most of the units here are kind of getting overwhelmed. The Royal Altdorf Demis are almost slaughtered. Standing Ground has gone down to try to keep him alive, but another Ragnarok has shattered, which is definitely a big win. In the meantime, Boris turns around, dives into the back of these guys, but unfortunately, the AP Cloonies, I do believe what these guys are unbreakable, so they're not going to break, and they keep fighting. They're actually going to beat Common Empire Swordsmen and in a straight up fight. So yeah, this is over here. The Hellblaster gun is as good as gone. I do send Boris trying to chase this spider down, but for some reason, most likely because he's very tired, and strangely enough, most likely because he is tired, he's simply unable to catch the spider. I'm not entirely sure why that is, given that he is flying, so the terrain shouldn't be affecting him. But yeah, for some reason he just gets slowed down. So here, realizing I'm not able to catch the spider, I turn the Royal Altdorf Griffites around to charge into the Orc Big Guns and cause a terror out on them. And in the meantime, over here, the Night Goblin War Boss has popped Foolhardiness, Toughness, and Wa, just trying to slug it out over here, and he's actually tearing through my Captain pretty efficiently here. the meantime, my Hull Blaster has been overwhelmed. I'm trying to just pull the crew away to keep him alive. My opponent has forgotten about his infantry here, which is a big boon for me. Though shortly thereafter, I do believe he was shortly noticed and pull him back into the fray. The spearmen and the great swords are being overwhelmed, but the great swords will perform fairly well against night goblins, which is one of the bit of a benefit there. Unfortunately, my Empire captain has, I do believe, gone down at this point, so definitely a bit of a problem. And you can see this itchy nuisance going down, just absolutely crippling my line here. And this guy is on a squig, so he actually has a bonus against infantry. He'll do pretty well against these swordsmen. Over here, Boris has gone in against the spider. You can see he just has a little bit of... he's starting to run low on his healing. He's about to hit his healing cap. He did a little bit of damage here with the charge on the Arachnarch spider, but got stuck in a duel with it, and I really don't want that going down. So I'm pulling him back to try to save the situation back home. In the meantime, the Royal Griffites are trying to rout off these big guns, but surely I'm going to realize it's taking too long and pull them back. There's only 3 models left on the Royal Griffites, so they're not being too good about shutting anything down. Hellblaster did get on his guns for a very short period of time, fired off a few volleys, and got slaughtered by this nasty Skulkers. And my army is definitely in tatters right now. Night Goblins, though, these nasty Skulkers are very healthy, so my only real hope against them is to shatter them. Now, fortunately, Boris is immune to terror, and he does dive in here, and he smacks this Night Goblin War Boss. You can see the smoke bomb does go down to shut Boris down, to keep him grounded, and I do pop standing ground just to try to keep him alive. And the War Boss is actually shattered here, which is a pretty big win. You can see the Royal of Demis in the meantime pushing in, and poor Boris here is definitely having a bad day, but Boris being very heavy on this Griffin is actually going to be able to simply push clear and take off. And I do try to intercept the War Boss here, and the Griffites miss, and so they don't catch him, and he's going to get away. So surely I'm just going to turn him around and go after these nasty Skulkers. Anytime my infantry is not, well, certainly not healthy, there are still a handful of models lying around, so I'm just kind of trying to regroup all these guys, form a new battle line, allowing the Tattersholes to get slaughtered to man, simply to buy me a little bit of time, to allow me to reform. You can see me pulling the Royal Altar of Demis here, rather than allowing them to go after on like a lone wolf mission against the Arachnarch. I'm simply grouping him over here with my infantry to kind of make a last desperate attempt. You can see over here Boris does dive in, going Death or Glory on the Night Goblin Shaman, and terror routing the nasty Skulkers and actually shattering goblins, which is a big win, right as my infantry starts pushing in. The Demis, I've pulled them away, but now I'm pushing back into the fray. I'm simply trying to shut down these annoying Night Goblins, finish him off once and for all, and the spider stops moving there. I believe it's trying to fire away at Boris, and I cycle charge with Boris, dive down right in, and go after the spider. I'm just trying to kill the spider off once and for all, and you can see the spider's wavering. Unfortunately, it hasn't shattered yet, but now it does break, and now the Royal of Demis are on it, and they'll be able to harass it at least, and hopefully put it down. This the Night Goblin Shaman has only routed, or has only he was only terrified initially, but now he's broken, and I'm routing, and now I'm pursuing with Boris. I'm going to put this guy down once and for all. You can see the Night Goblins have finally been slaughtered, and so it comes out as a very clutch Pyrrhic victory for me. Definitely not a game that I think showcased the Hellblasters particularly well. They did a great job. This one over here, the one that got slaughtered to men at the very end, get 2 chevrons. They did a lot of damage, but I would have gotten much more out of 4 units of handguns. That is almost guaranteed. My opponent's army caught me completely by surprise. This is an army This is an army type that you always think there are cheeses. There are different types of cheeses, but this is an army comp I completely didn't expect. It was definitely very brutal on my, given the way my army was set up, to be a bunch of squishy infantry shielding for the Hellblasters, with pretty bare minimum armor piercing support, and those spiders. It's kind of Arachnarch spiders are very resistant to anything that's not armor piercing. They have the second highest armor value in the game, armor values in the game after steam tanks, so they're very, very tanky. The goblins did surprisingly well, a bit opportunistic, I think, depending on who they hit, but they did pretty well. I think a lot of it was simply because my infantry was getting so disrupted by the spiders. The Night Goblin War Boss did surprisingly well. He definitely slaughtered my captains with that bonus against infantry. Nasty Skulkers and the Night Goblins hit me in the back. The spiders did a much better job of just disrupting and terrifying my infantry more so than actually racking up kills. Boris, those terror outs were amazing. That was definitely a key factor there in kind of winning the game. The Tattersholes did amazing against the garbage Goblin infantry. And yeah, that was basically it. The rest of it was basically my units doing their darndest to stay alive against spiders while the main damage dealers in my army took them out. So definitely a good game to my opponent. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a bit of a tense matchup. And yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, criticism, any questions about Quick Match, or any sort of thing like that. If you have any requests for comps you'd like to see demonstrated, be sure to post those down below, and I will respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.